I think shelter means many things. I think shelter means a place of respite out of the wind and the rain. I also think shelter means something deeper, and that means that we needed in the house to account for a place to view the weather running past and be out of that weather, but also a place to retract into and personally feel safe and secure. The house is on the very eastern aspect of Waiheke Island, here in the Hauraki Gulf of Auckland, New Zealand. The eastern side of the island is less densely populated, made up of mainly farmland and native bush. There is a real sense of journey in arriving here. The aspect of this side of the island is big water views out to Pakatoa Island and the Coromandel Peninsula afar. The clients that owned the site for a decade before we had started work, the sense of being in the outdoors and entertaining up on that exposed ridgeline was really important to them. They had used the site also as a place of respite from their intensely urban lives. These things really lay the foundations for the home. This meant we were tasked with providing a wonderful platform for entertaining that didn't need the guest wings and the en-suites that go with all of the normal urbane luxuries. What this meant is we were designing small and specific. We think it takes a certain braveness to choose quality over scale. It's not that often that we make 1.5 bedroom residences. The home is made up of 2 pavilions. In plan, these are slightly offset from one another. The seaward pavilion is framed by a piece of landscape that rises up out of the ground. The way the stone wall is shaped, it curves around you to hold you. We have glass to all 3 sides. That glass butterflies outwards and reveals a lovely connection with the lawn at your feet. Conceptually, we'd thought about the house as a canopy propped high at the mouth of a cave. The home is not made of crisp white paint. It is rather understood as a piece of landscape rather than building. The stone of the wall is stacked, it's not a veneer, and the floor is layered too. These things have weight, they have friction, and they have mass. As a counterpoint, there is a blade-like roof that delicately balances across that landscape wall. We were playing similar games with tones of materials and volumes within their respective spaces too. That we were starting light and we were starting full in the seaward pavilion. And once we had found the more cave-like space of the bedroom wing, the materials become much darker. Here the spaces are much narrower, much lower. In essence, what we were doing was amplifying one by having the other in contrast. There is a small fissure in the stone wall that reveals the entry to the bedroom pavilion. Here, the space feels more like it's been excavated from a mass rather than partitioned by walls. In this space, the passages are much narrower and the ceiling is too. The acoustics are much softer and the shadows are more intense. The bedrooms feel like they've been excavated from a mass rather than partitioned by walls. What we think this lends is privacy and security. That this is a cave-like space. It is the opposite. It is the counterpoint to our big, lightful seaward pavilion. So you might consider bathing as preparing oneself for rest or for a day ahead. And bathing, I think, means to be vulnerable, and vulnerable means to have thin skin. There are 2 opportunities for bathing in the home. The first is buried in the depth of the stone wall itself. There is no view here. There is a small aperture that exists overhead that allows a small portion of light to filter through into that space. Here, the bathroom holds onto you really tightly, and there is a real sense of focus being in this space. The second opportunity for bathing in the home is an excavation of a bathtub from the stone wall itself. There is a thrilling position of encapsulation and survey. Here is the opportunity to bathe in hot water and have the windows open and a cool breeze run across your skin. So really, the home's goal was intended as a retreat from disembodiment. That the architecture was not about the stone and the wood and the proportions, but it was what those things did to you. It was what they made you feel. The act of being here in the house is just so centering, it's so peaceful. And even though the view is the most significant thing upon arrival, having spent time here, it becomes the least. It is really just a backdrop. What the home is really trying to do is tune you towards the wind and the rain and the kanuka. I think the wonderful thing about a glass-sided house is your environment becomes part of your living room. The thing that was really important is that you did feel as equally comfortable on the big sunny day with the doors flung open as you did on the stormy day with the doors closed and you being curled up with a cup of coffee on the sofa. The home was a vessel for experiencing all of those things. It was there to amplify what already existed. I think there is a wonderful moment when the pavilion is in darkness and there is a flicker of the flame at the base of the stone wall. The home is made with real materials, the stones, the woods, the brass. What we hope is, in 100 years, those things have all got better and not worse. What we hope is that nature has started to take the home back over. That the home's surfaces show and reveal the history of the home's use. That it will be better then than on day one. I think what I love most is this layered experience, that whether it is the entry into the Seawood Pavilion and the exposure that reveals, or leaving it behind and finding the fissure in the stone wall, or clambering into the bath, at every turn there is some slightly unexpected delight. The thing I'm most proud of is actually felt at the time of departure. Upon your arrival here, the view is everything. When you leave the house, I feel it's the least significant. I think this means the house is doing what it was intended.